What's up everybody, my name is Vincent. Welcome to Cryptolution, where we talk about everything under the moon in the crypto universe. Today's Friday, May 29th. Now today is going to be a very shocking but also not shocking video, because we do have some proof that Binance has been buying dog for quite some time, especially in 4 different waves. Now thanks to a dog army member named Ordinals AI, he was able to determine how Binance has been executing their dog accumulation strategies ever since the launch of dog on April 24th of 2024. Now, also, we need to talk about how Binance actually accumulated more dog over the past 24 hours. Nothing is a coincidence. We did see that dog dipped a little bit more than most other meme coins. It was all on purpose. It was all orchestrated and all coordinated. Nothing is a coincidence. Let's get into this eye-opening video. Let's not waste any time. Smash the like button, subscribe to the channel. Don't forget to join us on X. Please be careful with anus scammers down in the comments below. I'll never reach out via WhatsApp, Telegram, direct messaging, or email, so please be careful and invest safely. Guys and girls, let's get right into it. All right, so dog right now is up around 2.35%, so not too bad. It's at around 64 million market cap. It was actually roughly around 65 million market cap just for a second. Let's go and scroll down to where the trading volume is occurring. Notice that most of the trading volume has actually reduced. So we're back down to around the 200,000 range, and the 24-hour trading volume has dropped to 1.69 when it was around 2 million as of yesterday. Now, not much has changed around Bitcoin. Bitcoin right now is at 73,000, so just 1,000 more from yesterday, because yesterday was 72,000. Let's look into the meme coin market sector. Most meme coins are reacting very positively to that. They're kind of up around 2.5%, maybe even close to 3. Some of them are like that. But let's go and go to where Bitcoin is at around 2.39% at the time of this recording. So it's still in between Brett and Toshi. It kind of goes back and forth. But what's really interesting is that right now we continue to see Ordi drop a lot. And again, Ordi is listed on Binance, and Binance has the most trading volume for this specific coin. And Dog seems to be catching up. This used to be roughly 10 million plus difference between the two. Now it's like less than that, which is really what we're just seeing on chain. Now, I want to talk about what just happened over the past 24 hours, because this is where things get really interesting. So you may have noticed that dog is up. Now, by the time I did the screenshot, it was up 5%. Now, look at this. This is the long-term holder count. It's 81.12%. Remember, yesterday, it was 80.9%. So that's basically a 0.22% difference, meaning they accumulated more dog. Just because we saw short-term holders, which represents the green section, fear, get into panic, and they basically just follow what they do most of the time, which is only focus on price. And they use their emotional indicators to determine if they hold, buy, or sell. These people don't focus on data, and they ended up transferring their funds over to long-term holders. So this is how big money works. Institutions, whales, professional traders, but more importantly, exchanges such as Binance. Now, I gotta talk about some suspicious behavior that happened yesterday. And I have to point all this out because this was all obviously orchestrated. So you see this green candle that occurred? Now, this green candle, believe it or not, was involved with C2 blockchain. So C2 blockchain claimed that this was their purchase order. But notice when they did buy that specific amount of dog, remember, you don't really need that much dog in order for the dog market cap to go up millions of dollars. Because again, CoinMarketCap only calculates the liquidity flow between exchanges. So for instance, as an example, if you put roughly $100,000, $130,000 into dog, then on the exchanges, especially, they'll see multi-millions of dollars reflective of that price just because the order books are so thin. But then all of a sudden, after C2 blockchain bought this amount of dog, you saw a huge red candle go right after that, which basically there was a sell wall, and somebody saw that, and either bots decided to trigger a sell-off event, but ended up coming right back down to a suppression price at 62 million market cap. This is not a coincidence. This was absolutely orchestrated. And the reason I can say that is because if you look at the top wallets, the top 100, inflows and outflows. When I focused on what was going on yesterday before I went to bed, look at the amount of wallets that are connected to the Binance Ordinal hot wallet. Remember, inflows and outflows are all right here that capture the network that all connect to, again, Binance Ordinal hot wallet. And what we saw yesterday is that this wasn't at 19.12% yesterday. Remember, we saw these funds shift over to like the top 51 to 100, and even short-term holders were kind of transferring their funds back over here. So basically, what we're seeing is that the funds went back into the top 10 accounts. It's not a coincidence. They're just transferring funds back and forth so that they can rotate within exchanges just to manipulate and influence the price. So this was obviously like coordinated manipulation by far. And how can I prove that? Well, check this out. So even though Kraken saw that red candle right after C2 blockchain had bought dog, especially on Kraken. Guess what happened on Gate.io? Look at the amount of sell pressure that happened yesterday in the middle of the night. It was at 90% with a 15 million dog sell wall, roughly at 62 million market cap. Now, this little sell-off event was triggered only on Gate.io. It did not happen on Kraken. But if you notice in terms of liquidations, over 27,000 US dollars in long liquidations occurred only on Gate. There was no liquidations of shorts or longs in any other exchange. It was just on Gate.io. Remember, Gate.io, it's not their fault. Again, the wallets that I've been tracking with Binance are the ones doing this. They're using exchanges like Gate.io, BitGet, Mexi, and Kraken to use as leverage to influence the price. So it may not be these exchanges that are responsible. They're just reacting to the directions that they're being given by Binance themselves. So let's talk about that. So I want to give a shout out to Ordinals Al or Ordinals AI. I'm not sure if it's AI or Al, but either way, I've been talking with this person. He's gathered all the data that I've shared with him publicly, and you can use the data that I've shared with you publicly with the wallets to determine how Binance has been tracking and accumulating dog. So this is what he's come up with, and it's actually quite shocking. Now let's look into ever since April of 2024. This is when Runes was launched and also dog was airdropped. Now, what are you noticing in this image? Basically, Binance has been accumulating a lot of dog. They own a large percentage. In fact, to date, they own roughly 6.9% based on what he's shared in this image with 10 wallets, just 10 wallets, right? I already have 17 wallets, which equates to around 7 to 8%, but he's accounted for only 10 wallets. Now, what have you noticed that they have the largest ownership of dog so far? It surpasses BitGet, Gate.io, Mexi, Merlin Chain, even C2 blockchain. Okay, so just pay attention to that. Now, what have you noticed over the time is that this yellow section, Binance, has grown in terms of their accumulation. And I'll go over to the next image because this is just Binance themselves, right? This is what Ordinals Al has shared. Now, apparently, they've actually made 4 major waves of purchases. Now, the very first one occurred on June of 2024. This is the very first time that apparently Dog Al has spotted that there was an accumulation phase of 250 million dog that Binance quietly accumulated while dog was at a 980 million market cap. Then there was wave 2. Wave 2, apparently they accumulated roughly 500 million dog, and it was at a 249 million market cap for dog's market cap. Then wave number 3 occurred right around here, and that happened to be when they accumulated 1.3 dog, which had a total of 1.8 billion dog. That was when the market cap of dog was at 195 million market cap. Now, moving forward, notice that there has been more accumulation, massive accumulation, because the dog price went down. Have you noticed this? Now let's go over to wave 4. On wave 4, it looked like dog had a recovery price of around 550 million market cap. They accumulated another 1.2 billion dog, and that had an accumulation total portfolio of roughly 3 billion dog. That's 3% of the dog supply. Then on June 28th of 2025, apparently 7 new accounts were created, which is the wallets I've shared with you. And over those past 12 months, roughly 3.9 billion dog was swept with a final position of 6.9 billion dog. Now notice that this recent accumulation just happened within this green spot. This is the wave 5. Wave 5 is a new accumulation phase, and it's happening right now as I'm recording this video. June 28th, it's not too long ago, ladies and gentlemen. This is happening right now. They're accumulating. This is all on-chain proof. So when you're looking at this data from Ordinals Al, it's clear as day based on a timeline how they've been accumulating during the price of dog. When price of dog goes down, notice that there's been more massive accumulation of Binance. This is all Binance right here as the price of dog goes down. Why is this not on everybody's mind? This is what's going on. They accumulate more when price is down. When price is down, it's not because retail is capitulating. As I mentioned before, this is all artificial selling pressure from exchanges that's being guided by Binance linked wallets. I've been sharing this with you for a couple months now, but this is just validation of what makes sense data-wise. Data is always more clear than just our emotional aspect. When we focus on our emotions, we only focus on the price and ignore what's going on behind the scenes. This is how big exchanges work. This is how exchanges like Binance, which is the most corrupt exchange in the world, does things behind the scenes. And they're not just doing it with dog. They're doing it with other cryptocurrencies as well. But they want a portion of your dog. And there's a reason why other exchanges like OKX hasn't listed dog for spot trading, Crypto.com, Coinbase. It's because when you have a big Goliath like Binance accumulating much of the dog, eventually when Binance does list dog for either Binance Alpha or Binance spot listing, I think it's more likely a Binance Alpha to just be realistic, they will sell off their dog portions while other exchanges list dog, because the dog price will go high and they will have more liquidity flowing into dog from the exchanges, allowing an easy way to sell off. That's just kind of how it works. So it's no suspicion that we see massive manipulation every single time we expose a Binance Ghost wallet, right? Or just a Binance wallet network. It always reflects into the price of what's going on with dog. So I'm not phased. You know I'm very bullish on dog, but other than that, you just saw on-chain proof of what's really going on. So with that said, I do want you to focus on dollar cost averaging and accumulating as much as you can, because as much as Binance tries to manipulate the price to suppress so that they can accumulate, it actually gives you an opportunity to accumulate more as well. So think like the 1%, don't be the short-term holders, which are the 18%, be the long-term holders, because you know how this works. Nothing like this will stay down forever. A number one meme coin, especially a dog-themed meme coin, will not stay down forever. It's going to follow the same pathway as all these other dog-themed meme coins on these other chains, such as Solana and Ethereum, which reach multi-billions of dollars. And this is how dog's going to be paved out. But Binance wants a piece of the pie before that does happen. So do not sell your dog. Do not fall for this manipulated artificial selling pressure. It's all orchestrated. So I want to wish all of you a good weekend. There's going to be a lot of volatility. We don't know what's going to happen with Bitcoin, by the way. Bitcoin could have very volatile prices, but I want you to keep your head up, stay focused, focus on data, don't use your emotional indicators. So let's go and thank our sponsors, C2 Blockchain and Trucker Biff. Make sure to smash up that like button, subscribe to the channel. Don't forget to join us on X to receive all of our alpha calls and updates regarding Dog on the Moon. Till then, see you guys girls next time.